This is Arena Books Book Talk with Josh and John. We are covering Seveneves by Neal Stephenson. Warning, spoilers ahead. Continue at your own risk. And this book is science fiction. But you know, the author surprised me with the level of real scientific data that he included in the story. And a large part of the story was scientific explanations for a lot of the concepts the story pursued. It wasn't until the last third of the book that it really moved into pure science fiction. So right here at the beginning, there's an agent, and it is shot straight through the moon. It's broken up the moon. And whether you want to say it's evolution, whether you want to say it was God or some other civilization out there pushing us to become more than what we are, that is what it was. Something pushed us to the point of extinction, and we either had to die or we had to adapt, and we had to become more than what we would have been just staying fat and happy on Earth. And it was a really neat concept that stayed throughout the book. And Josh, give me your thoughts on this.
Wow, that's a pretty deep description, a very accurate description. I think it's two books in one, which was a huge gambit, huge risk, because it was, either, Darwin's, theory of evolution, either survive or, go crawl in your hole and don't. So this touched my brain on a few different levels. Very intellectual. It was kind of not a 2-hour movie where like, wow, this is one of my favorite movies of all time now, because it was just that kind of experience. It was a slow burn, amazing, like intellectual experience, which puts it on my top of all time, top sci-fi of all time. But also it touched me on the little action-packed lower level, like Chicken Little, the sky is falling.
Yeah, and everyone on Earth is racing against the clock to get everything they can into outer space so that we can save something of humanity and just hope these survivors can think it out and make it. But along with that, Neal Stephenson started bringing in some social commentary, which is what we love about some of these great science fiction books. And what ended up ultimately on the space station? Politics.
Oh, I thought you meant the comet, the big comet. I love the characters and
that ended up there too.
Their bold actions. Listen, people may say that Stevenson is a master of technical writing, of these amazing, sweeping, high-level ideas. But guess what? His characters are pretty awesome too. And my favorites are the Jeff Bezos Amazon CEO. Sean Probst, who is like Jeff Bezos, who is in privatized space flight. And he takes this amazing gambit, shows up in the book or in a space convertible, says, I'm going to go get this comet, because guess what? All this ain't going to work. We're going to die in our little tin cans unless we got water and fuel. So he disappears to grab a comet with a giant frost giant. Read the book and you'll get that reference. And then he comes back, but he does die. He dies. And it's amazing because of the realism. And then they have to go on a suicide mission to actually grab the comet because it's in low Earth orbit. That's my favorite part of the book. So that's why I kind of described that in brief. So there are heroes and courage. There's cowards and there's, politicians. I didn't say they went hand in hand, mind you, but there's one grievous example of an ex-POTUS almost like messing everything up. So this book, The End of the Earth, was just a great concept that he executed exceptionally well. I don't care. There's so many great concepts in fiction and people trying to come up with things that really wow us, but he brought the goods, John. He brought the goods.
Well, I think Sean Probst was the hero of the story. Now, we had a lot of heroes, but he was the hero. Humanity would not have survived had he not gone on his death mission to retrieve that comet core. Regarding the politics, though, it was really interesting the way it was brought in. You had this ex-president who managed to get on the space station, even though she wasn't supposed to. She introduced a lot of politics. It literally broke up the entire space station. I don't mean politically. The space station broke up and they all went their separate ways, okay? The thing is, I was really torn on it. What she did up there was stuff that eventually would need to be done. Everybody would need to have a voice. But at that time, it was the wrong time to start pushing everybody's agenda and everybody wanting to feel important and have their own voice. But she did it anyway. So I was really torn. I said, that needed to be done, but you did it all wrong. And it had dramatic consequences that almost did eliminate the human race. For reals.
For reals. And this is something, you talked about social commentary. I say that Stevenson, he touched the zeitgeist of contemporary 21st century culture. He talked about smartphones, apps, talked about Facebook versus Facebook. He talked about everything that was funny, amazing, and fully possible in trying to actually reach space with current technology and save the human race. So, but he touched on the zeitgeist, our cultural fears, our cultural relationships currently with social media. So what was particularly telling and a huge cautionary tale and a huge warning for trolls to stop trolling on the internet was what was happened after, because the president's faction, when she broke up human society and created two factions, her own faction started to have internal fractures, and it pretty much decimated them. And it was because of a war of words. There was no combat in space. There was social media. There was so much propaganda and disinformation and so much vitriol, hate. And these people became cannibals. It was like the worst of human nature. And Stephenson didn't go beyond that, but I just saw, what would that have been like? He talked about this is what happened. So you have to imagine, things went south. And it was because really the propaganda and people willing to tear each other down with social media. I just thought that was a big cautionary tale. So there, social.
You know what else was cautionary? Don't mess with the world while they're trying to shoot rockets and stuff into outer space to save humanity, Venezuelans. The Venezuelans got nuked. Ain't no Venezuelans made it on that space station.
Yeah, that was something. Things went south. In the end, humans got scared and they said, no, we want to go into space, and they started clamoring for ships. And we warned you, right? So that we survive. Spoiler, human race survives, right, John? And then Stevenson goes into his second book. So people who are invested in these characters, and there's a lot of great heroism and a lot of great scenes we did not touch on, but we shoot to the future. The ending of the first part is great too, because the book is called Seveneves, because essentially only 7 women are left, and they use science to procreate. So yay, there's your science. No Adams, just a bunch of Eves, 7 of them. That has lasting repercussions. The future, bam, 5,000 years later, the 7 women have created 7 human races of archetypes, and it mimicked or followed their personalities or their personal characteristics. So I thought that was great. And the book is a snapshot of what this civilization has become. It's beautiful. It's like the leftover moon leaves an orbit or a ring around the Earth, like the other planets in our solar system have. So it was cool to see they survived and they created a civilization. So I loved what he majestically created, and it was beautiful, but it was self-contained. It was a simple snapshot. So we got a glimpse, and in that glimpse of that future, I was in awe, and I really liked how he shaped it and didn't create this into a series. He created this into a nice little framed story of us winning, basically.
To one of my previous points, the genetic diversity they ended up with after those 7 Eves was far more than anything we had on Earth up until that point. And again, it begs the question, would we have become that, or to become something to that level with that much diversity and that much more ability if we just stayed happy and comfortable on Earth? In this book, the agent was really something that was very necessary for humanity to become more. And it took thousands of years. But our resources were put into how to survive in outer space. And it wasn't put into hair products and makeup products and all these other inventions that don't push humanity to become more. So,
nice point, sir.
Yes. But, they did end up going back to the surface in this book, and they actually found that there were some survivors that had lived underground. And those survivors met the people from the ring with extreme brutality. And when that happened in the book, my initial thought was, drop the nuke. Wait, everyone, I'm getting a message in. This sounds like Morse code.
That's Morse code for the humans on Earth are awesome. We rock. Yeah, they survived, John. I love that. I kind of saw it coming, or hoped for it badly. So maybe Stevenson wrote this part of the book for me. So the survivors dug underground. They were the descendants of, deep underground miners. You know what I'm saying? They were the descendants of miners. And they were met with hostility because they said, this is our planet, you cowards, you left. And so there's that really cool thing. And that happens super quick. And this review is going to be over super quick as well. But it's amazing how he shifts incredibly. He shows how there's still factions, even in outer space. And then there's this huge gambit to come down and make first contact with the miners or the miners' descendants and get allies. But there's obviously they're just trying to, you know, usurp their land rights. So you can look at this as a Native American story where it's like, you know, the colonists or the invaders are going to come and take their land. So it's got all these subtle undertones, but that's not even the point. The point is like the good guys, or the guys from outer space we want to win, who are not on good terms with the miners, they need to quickly figure out how to get in good with, you know, the other spacers, as we call them, the red faction, because it is red versus blue. So so the blue folks, us, as I call us, go and figure out that there's another group of survivors, and it's actually the guys under the ocean, because one of the descendants had a boyfriend in a submarine, and guess what? There's a contingency plan in case the outer space plan didn't work to go under the ocean, and that's like the end of the book, and you're thinking, what? But they make that first contact, so it's a beautiful crescendo, or a beautiful ending to like, okay, so humanity, you know, still has its cousins on Earth, and this is a great shining moment, even if there's all this discord, and it's hopeful, you know, it's hopeful. So
if you didn't get the Morse code reference, it's because you haven't read the book. So read the book.
Read the book. We kind of told you the whole thing, and you're like, what? Scratching your head. But Neal Stephenson,
Yes.
he
Steele
pulls it off.
Stevenson.
Steel. He's a man of steel. He pulls it off. He is an awesome writer. So thanks for joining us, and check us out on the Rain of Books, where books rain from the sky all the time. Lots of goodness. No, it's the rule of books, not the weather. Rainofbooks.com. Take care, guys.
Nukes in space.